What if I told you that the biggest financial achievement your parents bragged about, the grand, sprawling house in the suburbs, is actually the most effective anchor preventing you from ever becoming truly free? We are taught from birth that renting is throwing money away and that buying a house is the ultimate path to wealth. But what if the math reveals a completely different reality? What if that good debt you've been chasing is actually the most efficient way to trade your freedom for a pile of bricks, maintenance bills, and property taxes? Today, we are going to dismantle the most dangerous myth of middle-class life, the obsession with the luxury primary residence. Imagine a couple, let's call them Sarah and Mark. They did everything right according to society's playbook. They worked hard, saved for a down payment, and finally secured a beautiful four-bedroom house in a prestigious neighborhood. On paper, they look successful. They are homeowners. They have the curb appeal, the home office, and the guest room that barely gets used. But behind closed doors, Sarah and Mark are house poor. Every single month, their paychecks vanish into the maw of the mortgage, the property taxes, the skyrocketing insurance premiums, and the endless cycle of repairs. They are living in a luxury prison, terrified of losing their jobs because their entire existence is tethered to a structure that demands constant tribute just to keep the lights on. This is the silent trap of good debt. We treat the mortgage as an investment, but we conveniently forget that your primary residence is not an asset, it is a liability. By definition, an asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out. Unless you're renting out rooms or flipping the property for a profit, your house is a money pit that consumes your capital, your time, and your mental energy. You are paying for the privilege of shelter, plus interest, plus maintenance, plus the opportunity cost of all the money that could have been working for you in productive investments. Let's talk about the math that the real estate industry doesn't want you to calculate. When you buy a house, you aren't just paying the mortgage, you're paying the invisible costs. Think about the closing costs, the realtor commissions, the property taxes that rise every year, the homeowner's insurance, the landscaping, the roof repairs, and the constant need to update the kitchen or renovate the bathroom to keep up with the neighborhood status. If you took the exact same amount of money you sink into your house, the down payment, the mortgage interest, and those endless maintenance costs, and invested it into a diversified portfolio of index funds, the compounding interest would likely leave your home equity in the dust. Society tells you that renting is throwing money away, but that is a gross oversimplification. Renting provides you with something far more valuable than a deed. It provides you with optionality. When you rent, you're paying for a service, not a lifestyle. You're not responsible for the furnace breaking in the middle of winter or the roof leaking during a storm. More importantly, you're not geographically tied to a depreciating or stagnant asset. You have the flexibility to move where the jobs are, to downsize when your needs change, and to keep your capital liquid so that you can invest it in things that actually grow. Consider the psychological toll of the good debt trap. When you stretch your budget to buy the biggest house you can afford, you're essentially signing a contract that forces you to stay in the workforce longer. You're trading years of your life, hours that you can never get back to pay for square footage that you don't actually need. Is a home office that you use for 2 hours a day worth 5 years of extra work? Is a guest room that sits empty for 360 days a year worth the freedom to take a sabbatical or switch careers to something more fulfilling? This is where the concept of stealth wealth comes into play. The people who are truly wealthy aren't the ones living in the biggest houses in the neighborhood. They are the ones who understand that real freedom comes from having a high savings rate and low overhead. They choose to live in modest, functional homes so that they can maximize their investments. They understand that their house is just a place to sleep, not a trophy to be displayed to strangers. They are building a life, not a facade. If you want to achieve the FIRE movement's goal, financial independence, retire early, you have to stop viewing your home as your primary retirement vehicle. Relying on your home equity to fund your retirement is a dangerous game. It assumes that the housing market will always go up, that you will be able to sell at the right time, and that you will be willing to move out of your home when you are old and frail to unlock that cash. That is not a strategy, that is a gamble. So, what is the pragmatic solution? It starts with a radical shift in perspective. Stop looking at your house as an investment and start looking at it as an expense. Your goal should be to minimize this expense, not maximize it. If you choose to buy for utility, not for status. Buy the smallest, most efficient home that meets your actual needs, not the biggest house that the bank is willing to lend you money for. Remember, the bank doesn't care about your freedom, they only care about their interest payments. Embrace the power of minimalism. When you clear out the clutter, both physical and financial, you begin to see your life with clarity. You stop buying things to fill up empty rooms. You stop feeling the pressure to keep up with the neighbors. You realize that your happiness is not tied to the granite countertops or the square footage of your living room. True happiness is found in the time you have to pursue your passions, the relationships you build, and the security of knowing that your money is working for you, not against you. Let's crunch the numbers in a hypothetical scenario. Suppose you have a choice between a luxury home with a $3,000 mortgage payment plus $1,000 in taxes and maintenance versus a modest, comfortable living situation that costs $1,500 all in. That is a difference of $2,500 every month. If you invested that $2,500 into a low-cost index fund with an average 7% annual return after 20 years, you would have over $1.2 million. That is the true cost of the luxury house. You aren't just paying for the house, you are paying for the lost opportunity to be a millionaire. This is why we call it the good debt trap. It sounds responsible. It sounds like the American dream. But it is a dream that keeps you working in a cubicle for decades, terrified of a layoff, and unable to take risks. It is the antithesis of the freedom you claim to want. You are essentially paying a monthly subscription fee to feel successful, while your bank account remains stagnant and your stress levels remain high. If you are currently in this position, if you are house poor and feeling the weight of your mortgage, don't despair. The first step is acknowledging the trap. You don't have to sell your house tomorrow, but you do need to start thinking differently. Can you downsize? Can you generate income from your property? Can you aggressively pay down the principal to reduce your interest burden? Most importantly, can you start treating your other investments with the same level of priority that you treat your mortgage payment? Building wealth is about the gap between what you earn and what you spend. By lowering your housing costs, you widen that gap significantly. That extra money is your ammunition for freedom. It is the fuel for your investments, your emergency fund, and your exit strategy from the rat race. When you stop trying to impress people you don't like with a house you can barely afford, you start building a foundation that can never be taken away from you. We live in a culture that measures success by what we display, but the vector sense philosophy is different. We believe in the quiet power of stealth wealth. We believe that the most successful person is the one who is completely in control of their own time. They don't need the validation of a zip code or the size of a garage. They own their home or they rent their apartment, but they never ever own their freedom to a mortgage lender. As you move forward, ask yourself, what are you actually buying? Are you buying a home, or are you buying a lifestyle that requires you to work until you're 65? The answer to that question will determine the trajectory of your entire life. Choose the path that leads to autonomy, not the one that leads to an empty bank account and a beautiful, expensive cage. It is time to stop accepting the social dogma that equates size with status. It is time to stop throwing your future away to pay for rooms you don't use. Take control of your finances, prioritize your freedom over your curb appeal, and start building a life that is truly your own. Because at the end of the day, a house is just a place to live, but your freedom is where you truly thrive.